From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, we finish up the mailbag. We do some practice observations, and you asked for it, you got it. Maybe FSU basketball starting a little bit of a house cleaning in terms of the roster. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com, the website. Friday's lunch special, you already know, the chicken strip basket. Hand-breaded, served with a dipping sauce or tossed in a sauce of your choice. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. today, only $8.99. Comes with a side dish, straight fries, curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. Again, that's only $8.99 for all of that over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Thumbs up on the YouTube, 5-star rating review on the Apple iOS devices, please. Corey Clark's here, everybody. Corey Clark, how are you, man? More importantly, how is Brady Clark, Corey Clark?
He's doing all right, man. He's doing all right. We're having some struggles in geometry still. That apparently isn't going away. But, other than that, he's doing okay. He's, hey, you know what? Thanks for asking.
How was the baseball game, though?
He didn't play. He didn't play, so that was fun. Is
it subterfuge from dad? Are you telling them to not play your son because he's not doing well in school? Are you sabotaging your own child?
No, I wouldn't. I would never do that. Okay. Come on, baseball's more important than school.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Right.
No, it's some odd, and I'm never going to be the dad that goes and talks to the coach directly and says, "Hey, why isn't my kid playing?" But there's some stuff that I'm trying to figure out, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But it's fine. It's fine. It's freshman baseball. It's not Florida State baseball. It's not big time college baseball. So it's not that big a deal. Yeah, we got travel ball coming up any moment now, Aslan, where maybe he can get some more at-bats.
Are the analytics on your side at least?
Look,
I know you don't want to talk too much about it. We don't need to talk too much about it, but, come on.
No, he's not doing terrible at the plate, but he's not doing great, and he's not, there's other kids that are about the same, talent level. I think Brady's the best outfielder they have on the team, but I don't know that defense is that big a concern apparently on this team. So, but I get it. It's offense. It's predicated on offense, but they're not a very good team, and they certainly don't have guys that play the outfield very well. But hey, they could be. They're all 15 years old. That is the other thing is Brady is the youngest kid on the team. We should have held him back. Looking back on it, it was not a smart play on our part to not hold him back because I think there's a kid on his team that's 16 as a freshman. Ooh. And Brady's still 14. So,
wow.
A little bit of difference.
That's significant. Well, if he's a good outfielder, I'm guessing he can track the ball well and catch it well, which Florida State could probably use right now in football as we wait for Mycah Pittman to get off the mend on Thursday. A little sloppy on the early portions of practice when it came to fielding punts. Pretty much everybody who fielded a punt dropped the punt. Not great. Somebody had asked about it on the tribal council. Shout out to whoever that was. But I think later on in practice when they broke out into the full 11-on-11 stuff or close to 11-on-11 when they do special teams, like my head is down. I'm trying to grind and get the practice video up for all of you folks to watch, so I'm not really paying as much attention to special teams. But I did not hear Papuchis or Norvell yelling, so I'm assuming that nobody was muffing it at that point. So that's pretty good. But it's picking nits at this point. Like, not that I'm here to bring you negativity, everybody, but it's something to maybe consider about as we talk very glowingly and very rightfully so about what this team looks like right now. That's a potential concern if he doesn't come back for the season because at worst, and then Corey, you mentioned it, the numbers flesh it out too. I mean, at least he caught the ball and just was a net positive influence on the team special teams wise when it came to returning punts. Right now you got guys that don't look all that natural doing it, so you're not even going to get a return, let alone now not that you got that much return out of Mycah, but man, he just caught it every single time seemingly, and that's a luxury that we all know we can't overlook because before him it was rough.
Yeah, but it's if you're going to get the muffs out of the way in March is what I've always said. I've said that for years. I've said that since you've known me. Get the muffs out of the way in March. It's fine. I think they will. if it's not Mycah, it'll be somebody that you can count on to catch the ball back there. But I get it. We got to talk about something. I get that, and it's not great if people are dropping punts. But it's March. Hopefully they'll figure out who they want back there. Hopefully it'll be 4. But if it's not him, it'll be somebody else back there. Making sure you don't give the ball right back to the other offense.
Jordan back to normal form. I thought Tuesday not his best day. Thursday I thought he bounced back quite well. Hooked up with Johnny on a really deep completion in period 3 team tempo 11 on 11. He was much sharper in 1-on-1, 7-on-7s as well. A real nice completion to Jaheim he had on there.
Okay.
Man, our guy Joshua Farmer, I don't know why I put Fuller down in my notes, but Joshua Farmer had a really good day. When they broke out onto the field outside and went and did 11 on 11 in period 11, man, he manhandled his guy on 2 different occasions. So they started off Corey like right around their own 35-yard line, and it was a 3rd and 10 situation. And the first time out, with Jordan in the ones, Farmer knocks down the pass, brings up 4th down, and then it's Jackson. Well, I keep wanting to call him Jarrett Jackson, but it's not Jarrett Jackson. It's Darrell Jackson, former Maryland player.
He's better than Jarrett Jackson.
He is. Yeah. Bats down the ball as well, sends the first-team offense out. Second time around, though, much sharper, much more crisp from the offense. I thought the defense early on in this practice, I thought they played quite well. There's a couple moments where I think Brock Glenn, Jordan Travis on 7-on-7 had to eat the ball because there's nothing on downfield, but in that situation, 11 on 11, second time around, Jordan came out there. It was just boom, boom. Like even he converted the 3rd down, but then Norvell made it 4th and 5 to like challenge the offense, and then he comes right back around and he threw a nice pass to Lawrence Toafili to convert for the first down. So they looked much sharper, the offense, in the second portion of practice. So kind of good things to see out there, I thought, because that's where you want to be right now. Listen, we don't want to see anybody dominating, I don't think, right? I think even the people that are that quote-unquote concerned about the defense needs to be better. Adam Fuller needs to be on his P's and Q's. I don't know if you'd really be that excited if you heard that they were just stopping everything and the offense was doing nothing. So edge to the offense is not always going to be a tie, but you want to be competitive and maybe one of these guys be a smidge ahead of the other, and today was the offense on Thursday, rather.
Well, and you also want back and forth, right? Like you want you want to one side of the ball maybe that wins one day, the other side of the ball steps up and gets the best of them the next day. You want that competition, just like you would want on the offensive and defensive lines, the secondary and the wide receivers. You want a back and forth.
Yeah.
You don't want complete domination by one side, because then you would start to worry, okay, what does that mean? How good is the defense or how bad is the offense? But I think there's a chance they're both going to be good. I think the offense will probably be better than the defense when you look at where they rank in the national stats at the end of the 2023 season, but not significantly more, right? I mean, I don't think either one of us would be surprised if they're both top 20 in both, because they were almost there this year. Or maybe they were. I don't even know. I don't even know where the defense and the offense finished in the national rankings, but they were close. They were similar. And I think the offense is probably going to be a smidge better than the defense. But yeah, man, it's good. It's good for competition level. It's good for the competitive spirit of a practice. When when I was out there on Tuesday, the defense just kind of dominated the day. And Patrick Payton is jumping up. He's got a little Jared Verse in him now too, where he's talking smack to the whole offense after Darrell Jackson batted down a ball. He's running up to him and talking smack, and it's good for the offense to take umbrage with that, get upset with that, and then come out the next day and maybe have a better day. That's what That's what you want. That's what I like to call response. And Mike Norvell cares about response, Aslan.
He does. Total offense, Florida State, 484 yards last year, 10th in the country. Scoring offense, 15th in the country, 36.1 points. Defense, 321.8 yards allowed. That was 14th best in the country, total defense. And scoring defense, tied for 20th, 20.6 points.
Okay,
So,
all right. And now, again, it's always tainted a little bit because how the defense finished the year. Or Oklahoma kind of did what it wanted to with the backup offensive line, and then Florida did what it did. But, the quarterback played pretty well for Florida, and when he did that was a pretty good offense.
real nice catch by Deuce Spann. Really nice catch by Ja'Kai Douglas. Kentron, corner end zone catch. Also in 7-on-7 had a nice catch as well. And Vandravia is still doing things, as was Hakeem. Hakeem seemed to be in a pretty good groove. I think we all agreed out there on Thursday that he probably had his best practice so far.
And I thought he had a pretty good one on Tuesday, at least in one-on-ones that I saw. He against experienced good cornerbacks, he beat them both off the line. That was good to see. So maybe he's gonna he'll be the other freshman receiver that we're talking about. But yeah, that's good to hear that he had a good day on Thursday after I thought having what I thought was his best practice on Tuesday.
And Azarie Thomas, mission takeaway, had a pick in 7-on-7s. So
there you go, AZ.
There you go.
Who threw it?
Buddy. Brock Glenn.
Come on, Brock. But hey, way to go, AZ. That's the thing about spring, right? You're happy for someone and you're upset with someone.
Yeah. They will scrimmage on Saturday. It is closed to the public and the media, but we will get Coach Norvell, all the coordinators afterwards. So stay with us on Saturday. Later today, though, Pro Day going on over at the IPF. We spoke to 9 players on Thursday. Jamie Robinson, Jasmine Turntine, Pokey, Mikey Russos, Dylan Gibbons, Jarquez McClellan. I'm going to forget
Cam
all these
McDonald.
guys. Cam McDonald, yeah. So go check out all those interviews. Jamie, the star of the show, we had him for 18 minutes. Coop, my guy Coop, can't forget about our guy Robert Cooper, which, by the way, I don't want to rub it in people's faces or anything, but, Robert took some criticism, I thought unfairly, on the YouTube comments. And I would try to delete him, when someone's like, he's on the payroll for Warchant. They ain't going to keep it real until he's been struggling, not playing all that well. And, I thought we would kind of make reference and acknowledge that maybe Robert wasn't at his best this year. Man, listen, he was hurt. He was hurt. We knew that. We couldn't report it because the head football coach does not like that kind of stuff. And listen, man, he had surgery right after the season. It's a 5-month rehab, and he's 10 weeks into it. And Pro Day is today as you're listening to this, kids. So, do the math. I mean, he's barely halfway through rehab in the most important part of his life now as a young man, no longer maybe a kid, because he's trying to make this into a profession. And I don't know exactly. It happened early, too, man. And if he would have shut it down, he would have been absolutely crucified. But he toughed it out, played the best that he could. Yep. And, it just I hope it works out for me because he is a really good freaking kid. And I'm not saying that just because he was on the show or whatever. You had a pretty good sense of what kind of kid he is and talking to the other guys in the program, coaches and stuff. So, let's be a little bit easy out there, everybody. When guys that we see perform pretty well don't perform well because usually they're probably hurt in a game of this sort of the way it's played, what happens.
And I think look, I don't even think we hit it that well. I think we alluded to it on a pretty regular basis that he wasn't right, that he was gutting it out, but he wasn't 100% by any means, and we all knew that. But yeah, it's always good to get verification and vindication when you're saying stuff like that. But yeah, it was clear he wasn't right, folks. We all knew that, right?
Yeah. So Jamie, though, was a hoot. Really good things to say about Shaheem. Really good things to say about Coach Norvell, about his time at Florida State, Josh Storms. So go check that stuff out. Did you have a chance to dip into any of that, Corey, or you're busy on the baseball Zoom, right?
Well, no, I didn't watch the press conference or his press conference, but I did read Ira's story that's on Warchant that you can all read. That I thought, because I talked to Ira about it, and we were trying to decide what Ira would write about the Jamie interview, and I'm like, man, because he said we could either write about him getting ready for Pro Day or we can write about all the stuff he said about the program and the South Carolina pipeline. And I'm like, man, I just think more people are much more interested in the pipeline stuff in Florida State as a program than they are about his particular pro day tomorrow. Like what he's looking to run and okay, man, it's Florida State. We love Jamie Robinson. It's awesome that he's going to get drafted. He's one of, 200. We've had a lot of draft picks come through this program that we cover and cheer for. So I think it's much more newsworthy and timely to talk about because he's got such a unique perspective of what makes Florida State a good program right now, because he was at a different one, and he was on the field for Jacksonville State. Let's not forget that. He saw the absolute rock bottom, and so yeah, I thought he was good. He had a quote about how he thinks they're going to be a national championship contender. They're going to start winning championships again, and he's bummed that he won't be a part of it, but he also feels some sense of pride that he was part of the turnaround. And he always should, man, because he was. If this thing gets going the way we think it could and is, you can't overlook what Jamie Robinson did. And then, talking about Jaheim Bell and Turpentine and those guys, and just the South Carolina pipeline, it's pretty unique, man, that they've had, they had 5? They had 5 South Carolina transfers in like the last 2-3 years?
Kier, Jamie, Justin, Gilbert,
and Jaheim Bell.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That is pretty nuts. So anyway, Jamie, and look, man, out of the guys that you mentioned that we talked to for Pro Day, I would wager that he's certainly the only surefire player to get drafted.
Yes.
Out of that, and he might very well be the only Florida State player to get drafted. Those, Cam McDonald, Dylan Gibbons, Pokey, they got work to do, and I hope it happens. We're all rooting for them, but they are going to be late round guys, and you're going to have to hope that somebody just takes a chance on them.
Can you imagine what next year is going to be like?
It won't be like the year that I went up to the combine, whenever the 2015, and there was it was Jameis and Cam and who else, like Darby, PJ, the whole gang. But it'll be close. Like it'll be that long. That was like lightweight. It'll be like 2015 light, because I don't know that they're going to have a lot of first round picks next year. When you just look at the way this roster is built up, but Jared Verse for sure. Yeah. But man, it seems like you're going to have a lot of second and third day picks, like a dozen of them maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not crazy, right, to think Johnny Wilson, maybe a Winston Wright, Trey Benson, a couple of the linemen, a couple of defensive, a couple offensive, Cypress.
Jaheim Bell, maybe. I mean, if Jaheim Bell.
Bell, absolutely. I think Bell and Verse and Johnny Wilson are the 3 absolute surefire draft picks on this football team going into the year. But man, they might have 12 guys. It'll be a whole different feel for Pro Day, because it's man, we like these guys. We hope they have a career in football. But this, I feel like this is like the last little vestige of the bad years of Florida State.
Lean. How about lean? Let's call
lean.
It.
The lean years. When you think about only having potentially 1 guy drafted, that's probably what's going to happen. Maybe 2. Somehow they might miracle 3. But then the cavalry's coming, and all of a sudden NFL teams are going to maybe start being stockpiled with Florida State players again. That'd be cool to see. I miss it. I miss tuning in on Sundays and watching old guys that I used to cover.
Vitamin Energy, a powerful boost of energy that nourishes your body with vitamins and supports healthy weight loss and much more. You can take it as a shot, or you can pour it into your water bottle, sip on it throughout the day. It's vegan, kosher, certified, gluten-free, non-GMO, 0 sugar, and gives you the energy boost you crave without any of the crash. They got offices in Florida. They're led by a slew of FSU grads, including All-American track standout, rather all-conference track standout. Sometimes I try to gas our guy up a little bit too much. So they're hooking you guys up. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT, BOGO. You'll receive an item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. There's 9 different varieties, and there's so many different flavors. There's formulas to boost your immune system, get your focus up, give you a pre-workout kick. They even have a sleep potion now, which I am going to chug like a madman after the Thursday night podcast, which is your Friday show, which you're listening to right now. They even got a variety pack so you can see which shot best suits you. Check out vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code WARCHAMP, BOGO. Brady wasn't able to take a shot and then get to the plate, and I'm a little bit crestfallen now that I've realized that, Corey.
I'm going to start giving some to his coach so he can start thinking clearly. Maybe I'll give him the focus one so old B-Dog can get on the field.
vitaminenergy.com. Promo code WARCHANT, BOGO. Some housekeeping stuff here. Our guy, random_John. Do not misunderstand me. I'm not being negative. For me, I believe that while it's important to celebrate our team's achievements and maintain a rosy outlook, I also believe in striking a balance in our discussions by addressing challenging topics. I'm not upset about any situation, but I don't want to pretend everything is perfect either. I believe a balanced approach is crucial for meaningful conversations and setting realistic expectations. All right. Okay.
What was that? What's that in reference to? What
I said that is, listen, man, I don't know. Go back, listen to the tape. Listen to the tape, everybody. I just feel like the last 3 weeks or so, man, we've got some really pessimistic questions, like framed pessimistically by our guy, random_John. He was just trying to say, no, I'm not pessimistic. And listen, I don't think any of us are saying that's perfect, but there's listen, there's two options. They either fire Leonard Hamilton, which they're not going to do, and we're not advocating, or they try to flip and churn this roster, which I get it. Like, they've taken a while to do it, but maybe the first part of it happened on Thursday with Caleb Mills, apparently, according to John Rothstein, entering his name into the portal. And if you'd read this, and I don't mean to sound condescending like that, but if Ira wrote a story and has posted a couple times now on the boards, Corey, you know this, but the people that might not pay attention all the time on the boards, Ira's reporting was that they were going to have 5 different players for next year. An incoming kid from high school, and then they're going to get 4 transfers. So when you're talking about basketball, that's a pretty significant changeover. So I'm not a patient guy. I wish it would have maybe happened a little bit quicker, but hopefully this sort of patience of them in the portal results in them getting better fits. Hopefully, fingers, toes crossed. What are your thoughts about Caleb Mills transferring, what it means for Florida State?
Yeah, I mean, I just think maybe Florida State will take the same jump Caleb's former school did after he left. That would be nice. Look, man, I'm not trying to kill the kid, but I think it's the exact definition of addition by subtraction. I just think it was not a right fit personality-wise. Well, more than anything that, but also style-wise. Like, he's a guy that takes a lot of contested shots and is good at it. But he doesn't make teammates better. He's not. Florida State isn't. They don't typically run an offense where one guy takes 17-foot contested jumpers. Caleb Mills is very good at that. He'd actually be really good at Miami probably, because that's Miami's offense. They don't mind getting up the floor and taking 17-foot contested jumpers. Mills is pretty good at that, and he was a pretty good defender when he wanted to be. But there were too many times, in my opinion, where number one, he just wasn't a point guard. He didn't make anybody better. He wasn't a good passer. Wasn't a good rebounder or anything else. He was a capable scorer, but even weirdly not a great 3-point shooter either. But there were so many times, at least a handful of times each of the last 2 seasons, and they couldn't afford this, where he knows Leonard Hamilton's rule that if you get 2 fouls, you're sitting till halftime. And there would be 2 or 3 times, seemingly a month, where he'd already have a foul on him, and then he would pressure the guard that was bringing up the ball to the point that the referee had no choice but to call a foul. 40 feet from the basket, up on him, not trying for a steal necessarily, but just hacking at him, really, and sliding into him and sliding away and sliding back into him. And it's like, man, that you just didn't want to play. That's what it looked like to me. Like, when you know Leonard Hamilton's not going to play you with 2 fouls, and there's 14:44 to go in the first half, your team needs you, and you get so far up into a guy's face and up under his legs that they have to call a foul, you just don't want to play the next 14 minutes. And that stuff just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It might not be that he's a bad teammate. It might not be that. I don't know. I'm not on that team, and I'm not going to, I guess I am speculating, but I'm not going to say that for certain. But what I will say is his body language made him look like not a great teammate. And body language to me is important, man. It was my biggest issue with Dwayne Bacon. Like, I didn't like his body language a lot of the time. His body language said stuff that I don't even think was necessarily true, but that's what people see. Like eye rolls and head rolls, and it's like he kind of, throwing his arms up a little bit. And I saw that a little bit with Caleb, but more than anything, he needed a fresh start, clearly, and it just was not a good fit. I mean, that's not a crazy statement.
That's not
that's
expert
not a hot
insight.
take.
That's not expert insight.
Yes, I mean, that was not a good fit, man. He just did not fit here. Certainly within the offense, he didn't.
What do you think they were getting, though? What do you think they were getting in him?
Well, I mean, that's not a bad conference that Houston plays in, and he was the preseason player of the year.
I know, but I'm saying, like, did he change his game? Like, did they think he was going to
No.
I think
I don't know what they thought. That's on them. I don't know what they thought.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Because when you watched his highlights at Houston, I remember even thinking at the time, like, I don't know how this translates to the way Florida State plays, because you don't see a lot of guards at Florida State take contested 18-foot jumpers.
Right.
That's not a good shot for Leonard Hamilton. He wants you to keep passing until somebody's open, not take those shots with 21 on the shot clock.
Not a big hero ball guy. Not a big hero ball.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and that might not even be true. It just looks like it. But that's his game, right? His game is to shoot over people. He's kind of got like an old man game to him a little bit, especially around the rim. But yeah, it wasn't a good fit. And yeah, that's on them that they took him. in hindsight, again, you could go back and listen to the tape from 2 years ago, and I was saying what a great transfer it was and what a big deal it was, and I thought it was going to be because I thought he would fit into the culture. The culture had done a good job of shaping and changing other players. First-year players, transfers. It seemed like the culture at Florida State was strong enough that it would absorb him, and he would, I don't want to say fall in line necessarily, but he would see what it was and join it and thrive in it like everybody else had. And it just didn't happen that way. And it was, part of it was that, look at that team last year. Malik Osborne didn't play. Anthony Polite didn't play the second half of the season. Those were the culture setters, and they were gone. And so he had to kind of do it on his own with Cleveland and Worley and some other freshmen. And he was in a bad spot there. That was probably fair to him. But when a kid like him leaves the team in December, like he did with Houston, just quits the team. And maybe in hindsight, that was a little bit of a red flag. Like I don't know. Nobody's done a study on this, but guys that leave the team in the middle of the season, just leave their teammates high and dry. I don't know if they thrive for the rest of their careers. I would think. I think it's a certain type of personality that would do that. Right? I know there's other guys that have done it. It was like who was the quarterback at Clemson?
Kelly Bryant.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he went to, where did he go, to Missouri?
Yep.
Had a nice, I guess, a decent senior season. But
I think he might be trying out for the WWE, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw something on my Twitter feed about
Really? Was he that kind of jacked? I guess it's been 4 or 5 years since that happened, right? I guess he's had time to put on some muscle. Yeah. It happens in basketball some. It happened with, didn't it happen with our man Hockman?
Yeah, Hockman. Literally, like on Thursday, I was like, I'm sticking it out here. And then like Friday, I was like, I'm gone.
Yeah, how'd that work out for his career?
Oh, be nice.
No, but I'm saying he's in another.
That's not good. Yeah, there's timing.
He's now at his second school since then.
Well, I think he's done. I think.
But he went to another school after it didn't work out at NC State.
He went to NC State and then Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah, I just think there might be a little bit of a correlation between the guy. I get transferring. I would never tell somebody to stay somewhere where they're not going to play and they're not really wanted. But when you are wanted and you just bounce in the middle of a season, that's probably not a great sign of how invested you are in a program. And, I just think maybe that played out a little bit with Caleb Mills. But, hey, it's gone. Water under the bridge. I hope he finds a landing spot, and plays well and has a nice basketball career by the time he hangs it up. Which, I mean, look, he's a talented enough kid. I don't think he's ever going to play a second in the NBA, but he's a talented enough kid. He could make a living playing basketball for the next decade.
So the top 20 players available in the portal, only 4 of them have committed. So get to it, Leonard, please.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Yep. We got 4 openings that we're looking for.
Yeah. Caleb Love probably not coming here. What about Jameer Nelson Jr.? I like to get Jameer Nelson Jr. He averaged like 20 points at his last destination.
It's odd,
Delaware.
though, right? Like a guy like that, it might be the same thing with Caleb Mills. Is like, I don't know that a guy that's used to having the ball in his hands so much and shooting that much is a good fit for Leonard. But then I hear what you guys are all screaming right now. Well, Leonard, make it a good fit. Play, fix the offense to where you can highlight people's strengths, and you can have a guy that scores 21 points a game or 17 or 18 points a game. Miami certainly seems to be doing it. They the Nigel Pack kid came in. He was used to having the ball in his hands, and he played with Isaiah Wong, who was was like first team All ACC last year, and they coexisted. And I don't think either one of them is even Miami's best player. I think it's the Jordan Miller
kid,
yeah. So man, it can happen. It's just such a unique fit playing for Florida State that and I think because of what happened with Caleb Mills, they have to be a little more discerning about just taking a guy that scores a lot. They've got to figure out a way to make them fit what they're trying to do. Instead of trying to jam the peg into the hole, they got to go get a different peg.
Like we trust Leonard when he says, "I know what needs to be fixed. I'm going to fix it." Does he have enough runway? Like, can he rebuild this the way he did after? Not necessarily rebuilding, but like, can he retool it the way he did when he was able to get Jonathan Isaac and Beasley and Bacon, and then get Trent and T-Man, and then get some ancillary pieces around them that ended up growing and being maybe even better than them in terms of like a guy like Devin Vassell. Like, is there a large enough window for that to happen where Leonard can stay on course, be true to who he is, the 18-strong vision, or is there going to have to be a little bit of compromise, Corey? And, maybe we need to get some instant offense guys and just find ways to make it work. Like, is he going to have to get a little bit more flexible than maybe he'd want to at this point in his career?
Yeah, no, he definitely has to be flexible. I think that's what this is. Like, he did not embrace the portal like he should have right away. Again, you look at their class last year, their high school class. They bring in 5 or 6 freshmen. That's not how you win in college basketball right now. Certainly not in a place like Florida State, because you're not bringing in the same type of freshmen that Duke and Kentucky are. They don't come here.
What about FAU, though? FAU, aren't they homegrown other than the Golden kid? Well, Brian from Texas A&M, but no, I'm just.
Well, and then the Pat kid, I thought Jordan Miller was a transfer too. He might not be, but they're older.
Well, Kansas State was. I mean, Kansas State made it to the Elite Eight. Those guys are all new, first year coach as well. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of that's the saving grace right now is that no, he does not have the runway or the window because of his age and because of the last 2 years where you can say, all right, man, just get yourself a class or two. Let's cycle through these guys. Let's see what these guys look like as sophomores and juniors. He has to win now. Well, not now because they're not playing. You guys know what I mean. He has to win this year coming up. So that's where the portal comes into play because I don't know that you look at that team right now other than, I don't know, Cleveland and maybe Corin, you're like, yeah, those guys need to be in the rotation. No. Those guys they could be winning players in a rotation. They're good enough. Jalen Worley hasn't proven enough to get 30 minutes a game. Darren Green just can't guard well enough, in my opinion, to get 30 minutes a game. Naheem McLeod, clearly. There's some other Tom House, clearly. They're not rotation players on a good team. So they're out there. But you can't, he's only bringing in 1 freshman, right? Yeah. So I think that even though he wants 5 new players, he's only bringing in 1 freshman. So that to me is a good sign that they know they know that they've got to change the way, they've got to change the approach. And to that end, maybe the second part of your question is you might have to tinker with what you're doing. Yeah. Like that's what bothered me the most about this season is how they didn't adjust to what the personnel they had. But also, the way Leonard teaches defense, Trent Forrest was really good at it his second and third year in the system.
Right.
Same with Vassell.
Right.
Not everybody is Patrick Williams that can be a defensive juggernaut from day one. So they got to learn it. And if you only get a guy for a year, he might not learn it. So maybe you have to simplify things a little bit. Maybe you have to not ask your 7-footers to switch on every screen. Maybe you simplify things. And maybe the most important point I wanted to make is you cut down your rotation. Like the days of 18 strong, the days of playing 12 guys 11 minutes a game. I just don't know. I think that was a great moment in Florida State history. That was a unique roster with unique personalities that were good and cool with doing that. I don't know if that's the way to make it back, is to think that you're going to have 11 guys that can all play. Miami doesn't. I don't think FAU does. I'm pretty sure UConn doesn't play 11 guys. Like, look at who's winning right now. And you're not going to get the kind of talent where you're going to have 9 deep that can win on a consistent basis, in my opinion. So
I guess
it's all fascinating, man. It is a guy that has won at a really high level here at this place, and then has had the worst dip of his career right around the same time that the college basketball has completely shifted. The landscape is completely different than it was before COVID. And can he adjust to this new reality as well as Larinaga and Ruiz did at Miami? Can that happen? Because that's his greatest challenge, man. It is not impossible for Florida State to be a top 20 team this coming year in basketball. It is not impossible for them to be a Final Four team. It will start in the next 2 months. That's how it's going to happen. And so we'll see what ends. But I think what happened on Thursday is the first move. It's a kid that just didn't fit. Go find a better fit. Maybe not even as talented offensively, but go find a better fit for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it'll be cool. I mean, the Final Four I know might not be the most glamorous sort of matchups, but it feels like the one side of the bracket, like FAU or San Diego State, that feels like more of kind of a grassroots build. At least San Diego State. I think they're And those are grown fifth-year senior kind of guys, I think,
Yeah.
that have been with Dutcher for a long while. Meanwhile, if Miami ends up out of that side, you've got the new wave, so the new blood, if you will. Just joking. You guys are no bloods.
There you go.
Speaking of Miami, though, Florida State's baseball team will go down to Coral Gables and try to get off the schneid against the Canes.
Hey, that's a good transition, buddy. Good work.
Every now and then.
Yeah, man. All right.
You were on the Zoom with Coach Link Jarrett. Not a lot of good news to share, feels like. Wyatt Crowell, which is the linchpin, everything hinges on his availability. Sounds like he's not going to be available, Corey, right?
Yeah, he said he was asked about whether he'd be back in the rotation this weekend. He said he is not a factor this weekend. And then he goes, if he is, it'll be a while. And I think what that means is if he's even a factor at all for the rest of this season, it'll be a while. So, not good news. Wyatt Crowell, I would go ahead and assume, it just until further notice, he is not a part of this pitching staff. And this pitching staff is horrible. So without its best pitcher, yikes. Some guys are going to have to grow up, but I just don't. Link did say that there are some position players that are coming and saying, I can pitch. If you need somebody to pitch, I can pitch. And, that's not a crazy thing to say.
It's cool. It's good. Cool. But
but it's also like I'm sure many of them did pitch in high school. And some of them might be pretty good at pitching. I don't know. Could they be worse than some than what's been happening here on Sundays? So yeah, man. But he said McGuire Holbrook, the catcher, is still day to day. He's still got a hamstring issue. He can get some at bats here or there. Maybe he's going to be a DH. But they just worry about him running out of the box and tweaking it and hurting it even worse. But yeah, man, I don't know what to say. They're 12-12. They've lost 9 of 10 games. They're 3-6 in the ACC. I think they're on a 6-game losing streak as it is, and they're going to play at Miami for 3 games. And they got Ballmeister going Friday. That's cool. That's good. Maybe the offense can have some really good days, but because of the pitching, it's hard to imagine them going on any sort of run. And we've talked about this before, but I legitimately think, especially with Crowell not being a factor, I would be stunned at this point if they make the NCAA tournament. Stunned. Because, they got Wake's number 2 in the country. They got at Miami. Louisville's awesome. They've got all these. They got Florida 2 more times. They've got all these really tough teams they have to play. And they're not even beating the mediocre teams. So, winning 2 of 3 against Louisville or 2 of 3 at Miami or the next 2 at Florida just seems pie in the sky, like it can't happen. And so that's a bummer that in Link's first year, unless something drastically changes with this pitching staff, they are not going to make the NCAA tournament. And the streak ends at, what is it, 44?
They're tied. They're tied, man. They're tied. Just your first season, man. Just get there.
What Aslan means is they're tied for the all-time record for consecutive postseason appearances.
With Miami.
At is it 44 or 45? Yeah. So.
Your first year. Lincoln, come on, Bubby. I know it's a little bit out of control because you inherited a room that didn't have a lot of pitchers. And listen, he's safe, everybody. He's making double the amount of money the guy that got rid of, and his contract is twice as long, and I'm in no way, shape, or form advocating a change there. But I just don't know, why does the first year for a lot of these guys that come here have to be part of the plan is to, torpedo these really awesome streaks that maybe aren't talked about around the bar stool across the country. But, man, it's something I really took a lot of pride in, the consecutive bowl trips, the consecutive winning seasons. Yeah. That stuff like that, it was a killer to lose to Florida at home anytime. But, I remember, literally, I was upset that you guys weren't that upset, it felt like, after the wrap with the Florida game. And I remember you and, guys were talking to Tim Linefeld. I'm like, I'm going home. I'm pissed off. And I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a bowl streak. That's a bigger deal than this. Just only because it's college baseball. There's just not that much.
How many teams have gone to 44 straight NCAA basketball? I wonder what the record is for most basketball.
I can't imagine it's much. But, again, that's college basketball. It's a bigger deal than college baseball. And
but
I'm not saying
64 teams or whatever.
It's not something to take it's not something that you shouldn't take pride in. You really should. No. It's just, the cool thing about it, though, in my opinion, with this particular case is that Link was part of 4 of them.
Yeah.
Or more than that, actually, because he was a GA one year. So he was a part of 5 of them. So it's not like Willie just being an interloper and coming out from nowhere and just ending the bowl streak.
Right.
Like Link was,
It's
this
one of
was
our
his
own.
program too.
Yeah.
So Link's been to the postseason with Florida State 5 times. So he was a part of it. 11%. He's 11% of the streak was with Link. So, but yeah, man, I get what you're saying. It's just, you look at this team, man. There's what can you do? I mean, what can you do? There's a reason he's here. If things were going well and things were set up for a nice long run, well, he wouldn't be here. The guy who was here before him would still be here. The program was clearly on the decline rapidly. Kind of was a 2 or a 3 seed each of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Really even 19. I mean, they went to Omaha, but they snuck into the tournament that year. Yeah. They got hot at a great time, but that was 3 straight years where they weren't a 1 seed. Like one of the top 16 seeds. They didn't host a regional any of those years. And yeah, man, look, this is it's just been a steady decline that now with Crowell, I feel like you're falling straight downhill now. And I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they play this on a loop to the game later today. Like this guy talking about how they're not going to make the tournament. I hope you guys are irate. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. Cam Smith, get mad, man. You don't want to be a part of this.
Hope they take that photo of you on the boat, and put little pieces of tape over it, and after each game they win, they'll just, they'll peel a piece off.
Now you're
like
talking,
Major League,
like Major League. That's a good reference. Good job, Aslan. Yeah, that's right. Man, they would not want to win then. That's not a great motivation. Let's see this guy without his shirt on. But yeah, so they're in trouble, man. You could tell by the way, and I even asked Link when I talked to him on the Zoom, was like, how do you instill any sort of confidence or hope in a team that's lost 6 games in a row? Their best pitcher isn't pitching anymore, and now they have all these tough games coming up. Like, how does this even happen? And then he said, I thought something was kind of interesting. He said he's been through this 5 times now. And I don't know what this means. I don't know if it means this is his 5th school, because I think he's been to more than that. I think he must mean he's had like 5-6 game losing streaks in his career, something like that. Probably should have asked him to explain what that meant, but I didn't.
It's
Lazy.
a Zoom. It's tough.
It's a Zoom. It's tough.
Yeah.
But, he said, look, we do show them the good plays, because there are guys that are having really good moments and seasons despite the team record. So we do want to emphasize that. We do. But he goes, we also have to show them the mistakes collectively and individually and how it's costing us these games, and explain what can be done and practice what can be done so that it doesn't happen again. And I'm like, well, it's all good in theory. I hope that happens. But at the end of the day, if your pitchers keep getting shelled and not executing on the mound, it's not good. It just fielding, hitting, it almost is irrelevant if you continue to pitch this bad. It is a bad staff right now, and hopefully somebody can figure it out. Starting tonight with our man Jackson.
It just seems crazy. It just seemed like no matter, even when seemingly they couldn't even try to miss the tournament, right? Like those last few years with 11, those teams were so rough.
Yeah.
And they still found ways to make it to the postseason. It's like there's no way we can mess this up, and here we are on the doorstep of possibly messing it up. And yeah, I mean, it's nothing else to say other than like it just would be an absolute freaking gut shot. But you get back on the trail and you recruit a couple arms, then, maybe go in the portal and pull a couple guys and everything changes. Or maybe you just get hot in Durham, win the ACC tournament. It actually means something this time around.
Man, they have to get invited to the ACC tournament. They don't take everybody in the conference. And, 3-6 and staring down the barrel of a 3-9 start to the ACC, they might not make the ACC tournament. Like, legitimately, that's my biggest fear right now. But yeah, they could get hot in Durham. That would be awesome. That'd be actually a really cool story if they somehow found a way to win up there. But they got to get there first. I think that's how it works, right? Not everybody gets invited to the ACC tournament in baseball.
Because there's what, 3 pods, 4 pods, 3 teams?
I thought it was 3 of 4.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Or maybe it's 4 of 3. And yeah, so I think there's 15 teams. So look, man, it's not automatic the way they pitch right now. But what are you gonna do? I'm a Florida Gulf Coast fan anyway. Have been. Dong City for life.
How about FAU? They're taking on San Diego State in the first game of the Final Four Saturday. It's a 2 point. Are we still 2 points right now in my bookie? Let me refresh your guys' tab on my screen because it's always pulled up there. It is ballooned to 3 points now. San Diego State a 3-point favorite over FAU, and then the UConn-Miami game has held steady at 5.5. Makes Saturday a little bit more exciting. It's FAU and San Diego State. It's Miami and UConn. You got to put money on the game. If you're going to do it, go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. You get an instant cash deposit bonus. Gives you a little bit more leverage when you're making your plays. Again, 3 points on the FAU-San Diego State game. 5.5 UConn favored over Miami. 149 the over-under total on the UConn-Miami game. 131.5 FAU-San Diego State, which, ew. But if you've watched these teams play in the NCAA tournament, it kind of makes sense. You know, you've watched all these games. You've got all the data you need. Go make your picks. Do it at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. All right, Corey, let's go on a little bit of a spree here. Speed.
I was right, by the way. It's 12 teams.
Okay.
I just looked it up. I don't know the format exactly, but it's a 12-team tournament. So that does mean that the bottom 3 in the conference don't get invited.
By the way, I also pulled up the On3 transfer portal, and I put all the kids that are in the portal, and I scrolled all the way down until I could scroll no more. And there's 300 players, and Caleb Mills is not on the list.
Well, that might be just not added yet. He's certainly one of the top 300 in the portal. I mean, he averaged 13 a game in the ACC. That's crazy. So I think he's probably just not been added yet.
Okay. Let's get to the rest of these questions on the Renegade Express. Some of these are kind of deep, Corey. They cut real deep.
Oh, all right. Okay.
First off, Ira Brofell, wake up. Now that Corey is drawing Norvell's attention for his shirtless spring break photos, who's the next media member, WarChant or otherwise, to jump on the Body by Corey routine? I think Gene. Hasn't Gene reached out to you and want to tag along on some of your workouts, get some of this vitamin energy up in them?
No.
I
I don't know. I know Chris Nee is starting to do a little something.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, I think he should.
Well, yeah, he should. What does that mean, Aslan? Come on.
No, I didn't say should. He shed. He
shed. Oh, okay.
He's
Nice.
shed
Yeah.
weight. Yeah. I've heard him and Josh Storms talking about it. Like Josh Storms dropped a whole bunch of weight, like 30 pounds or something, and Nee and him were kind of celebrating their victories together. Yeah. No.
Oh, okay, good.
I like Chris Yama. No slander.
I'll be honest with you, and I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm really not. I don't know that anybody's going to do what I've done because I think I've become a little too obsessive with it. Literally doing.
He walks. I'm looking for Corey at practice to maybe share some notes. He's got his head down, typing in what he's just witnessed, but he's walking constantly around the football field, just getting step after step after step.
And I'm doing. I'm trying to do like 50 to 55 minutes a day working out, but that's not a ton. I know there's people that go to the gym longer. But I literally do it every day. Like I'm making a point. Like if I don't do it now, I'm to the point now where if I don't do something active for at least half an hour, I go stir crazy. I feel like I'm, I don't know, man. It's like I'm addicted to
life.
it.
Yeah, it's just passing
I mean, it's
by.
cool. It's great. It's a great
awesome.
spot to be in. Yeah. But I don't, it took me. I don't even know how I did it. Like, and again, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just that ER visit. And looking at myself in the mirror and then hearing what I weighed, I'm like, man, this is it. You've got to. And I did a good job of so I started in the middle of February, and I'm like, you are not going to even worry about your weight, worry about flexing in the mirror, taking off your shirt, any of that for 3 months. But give me 3 months of every day doing something. Changing your diet a little bit. I got rid of soda, which was a big deal, but I was drinking Diet Coke anyway. But I got rid of the beer, which was huge, and vodka. Vodka changed my life. Vodka and Mio and vitamin energy, and then I was like, after 3 months, it just became part of who I was. Yeah. Like I've got to go to the gym, or I've got to go work out. I've got to go see my man Bill, my personal trainer Bill. I got to go see him, and now I got to go to Orange Theory. Like I've got to do these things that I just don't feel right if I don't do them. So I'm grateful that I'm in that spot. But I'm 47, so I don't know why it took till my 47th year to do this. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah, had a health scare.
Well, yeah, but it's like if I was capable of doing this, like being this disciplined about it, and doing it every day for over a year now, that literally almost every day for a year. Like I would guess out of the last 400 days, I've probably done something active 392 of them. Like if I was capable of doing that at 47, why didn't I do it when I was 30? Or 21, or 17, 50. Like it's just weird that it happened now, but it did. I'm happy. And it was all so I could. It was all for the gram, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was all for the gram. It was all for Norvell and other people. Stephanie was not a big fan of all the comments on those pictures on Twitter because they were all aimed at me, like telling me about me. And I was like, yeah, well, it's dude. Number one, it's dudes commenting.
Right.
they're not going to comment on my girlfriend.
Yeah.
That would be weird. Yeah. And it's also guys weirdly appreciate and understand when other guys have been working out. And they want to give their shot. I would do it, Aslan. If you ever do a shirtless pic, I'm gonna say something nice to you.
My man. Let's keep it in Corey's corner. Primetime 92. Hey, ladies, this question is for Corey.
Okay.
This is a deep one, man. Hunker down. What is the hardest part of being a parent? What advice would you give to soon-to-be parents? Does it in some way help being divorced in that you get a mental break every now and then?
Well, yes, that does help. I'll be honest with you. And it hurts too, though, man, because there's a lot of missing. There's a lot of missing. Brady, and I know this is a sports show, and I'm a sports dad. He's had 2 home runs in his life. I missed one of them. He hit a buzzer beater in a rec basketball game, a 3-pointer, and apparently he scored 20-something points. I wasn't there for that. Like those kind of moments, seminal moments in childhood. You do miss those, man, and I can be retold it, and I can be really proud, but you also feel very guilty about not being there. So the bad outweighs the good when it comes to that. But, yeah, we all need Brady breaks. That's what me and Shanna call them, Brady breaks. We all need those, so that does help. Man, I think the hardest thing about it, as now that I have a teenager, is the worry never goes away. Like when they're 6 weeks old, you're just worried they're breathing in the crib. And then when they're 1, you're worried that they walk. Like, okay, are they walking? Are they healthy? Can they hear? Can they see? All of that. Then are they going to eat the power? Are they going to eat the cord? Yeah. Are they going to
stick the fork into the outlet?
Yeah, all that stuff. You worry about that, and in tubs and everything else. Like, legitimately, a huge worry I had was the backseat of the car. Like all those worries that you just become paranoid about. And then you get through that, and then they're 6, and you worry about, okay, are they going to make friends? Are they weird? Are they too much? Are they gonna be ostracized from school? Is he going to be an athlete? Is he going to be friendly? All those things you worry about, and then you also and it always comes back to safety too. Like, Brady's 14, I'm going to be 15 in June, and it's like, man, he's going to start driving cars soon enough. And it's like the worry never goes away. And I remember my dad always telling me that, even when I was in my 30s. Like, I'm always worried about you. When I drive back, my mom's 80 years old. Every time I get into town in Tallahassee and every time I end a 5-hour car ride back up here, I have to text her and tell her I made it. Yeah. Like, you just never stop worrying about them, ever. So that's the one thing. Because I always thought, okay, once he gets to middle school, he's self-contained, he's on his own. I'm sure he'll be fine, but you're always worried. You're just always worried, and that never goes away. And that to me is the toughest. And then also just not getting, well, you lived at this show, Aslan. I got so frustrated with Brady, I was screaming at him 10 minutes ago. And not letting that overcome the dynamics of the relationship. Letting him know that, you can still be fun and funny and not being so much of a grump. Because I just don't want him to feel like he's always disappointing me. But, I mean... Shut up, man. Your dad's doing a show downstairs. Quit talking on your video game. So, anyway.
What about that was beautiful, for real, man. That was amazing. I love that. What advice, is there advice you give to a soon-to-be parent?
So the best advice I got with a newborn was they're on your schedule, not the other way around.
Yes!
Like if you need, also don't ever, ever, ever play toddler music in your car. I had all these rules about, he's going to watch Pulp Fiction with me when he's 2 because what does he care? He can't understand it. It's just, and then I was like, I hate cartoons. I'm not going to let him watch,
Blue's Clues or something.
Blue's Clues. And Creature Report, whatever that stupid song is that's still in my head. I was like, I'm not going to watch any of that stuff with him. And he watched all of it, Elmo, all of it, because it kept him entertained. But the one thing I held true to the whole time was I'm not going to play baby music in the car. Yeah. He is going to listen to Pearl Jam or Pink Floyd or whatever I'm listening to, and he'll be fine with it. And so I held true to that. Like, don't make yourself have to listen to that nonsense. The Wiggles or the Wuggles or whatever that group was, don't listen to that. Play your music. They're in the car. They'll be fine. But the main piece of advice is your schedule. You can dictate their schedule to a point. Like if you're usually up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., but you don't want to be up at 5 a.m., put them to bed later. Like, you can do that. They will get on a schedule. So they won't stay up till midnight, but you can get them on a schedule where Brady was great, man. Brady would go to bed at like 9 o'clock and usually wake up at 8.
Woo! Oh,
so
nice.
it was great. Starting at like 6 or 8 months.
Let's go.
6 months probably. He was a 9 to 8 sleeper, and then he'd also take a nap at noon.
My man.
So he was definitely a Clark. So that would be that to me is the biggest thing is don't be like, well, he's tired, I'm going to put him to bed, even though that means I'm putting him to bed now at 6:15. So I guess I'm going to have to wake up at 4 in the morning with him. No, keep him up. I don't know what you do to keep him up, but try to get him on a schedule that's conducive to your life. Yeah, vitamin energy. How early can you start that, Aslan? Is there a thing? There's not anything on the package, right?
We'll check into it. Nole Dad for Life, wake up, fellas. I'm curious if you've had any conversations with JD Pickle of On 3. He recently had interviews with Norvell and Jordan Travis. He always brings up Warchant. When talking FSU, great insight. I think he's got the second best analogies in the business behind our very own Corey Clark.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Also, is there one particular lineman that races Norvell each time, or is it different each time? It's him and Dante Anderson a lot right now. Dante, I think, is smoked him each time, but Fisk's in the mix. Patrick Payton's been in the mix.
I don't even think Patrick Payton takes it that seriously most of the time. Like sometimes he'll run and sometimes he's just jogging behind him. Like I think Patrick Payton is there in case one of his teammates is getting beaten. Yeah. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to turn it on. We're not getting beat. The defensive line is not getting beat. I'll run now. But I watched him on Tuesday and it was fit. Man, Fisk can really move, really move. But I was watching, and he kind of just jogged behind him once he saw that Fisk was going to win anyway. So, but Patrick, he's always in the mix there, but he's not always sprinting at full speed. You're right. Dante Anderson and I think Fisk always are.
We have not had any conversations with JD, but we can. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll get him on the show some point. But it's just
All
like,
right.
he hosts his show. We host our show. Like, we're here looking at the team. But I guess it's always
But we're
good.
teammates, right?
Yeah. I guess it's always
we're
good to get
teammates
a set of eyes that's different, fresh eyes that hasn't seen everything every single day. Moving along, we got, wow, I thought I locked this thread. Everybody coming at the buzzer. All right, our guy Dave, Birmingham, tennis ump. Hey, guys, wake up. Have you seen enough now in practice to let us know who your biggest surprise in a positive way are from both incoming freshmen as well as transfers? If not, I'm patient. Thanks as always, guys. Support the sponsors.
Well, I mean, I think Jacobs is the automatic for the freshman, right?
Yeah.
And again, that also has something to do with the position he plays.
Well, let me zag. Like, I would say KJ Kirkland because he's gotten praise from the coaches every single day, apparently. You guys like the way he's played, and I had no expectation for him to do anything.
Yeah,
like him or
that's a good
Quindarius Jones. They said Vandrevis Jacobs, and they liked these freshman receivers, and they were going to be able to be instant impact guys, and he was like my dark horse. Like, I like that guy. I'm going to put my money on that horse. But like Quindarius Jones, KJ Kirkland, I had no expectation at all that they would do anything even remotely productive for this football team, like even in practices, really. Yeah. And they are practicing at a pretty high clip. So I'd maybe would go those guys.
Yeah, and it's also understood and understandable that the linemen aren't going to shine. Yeah. They're all 18-year-old kids going against grown men. They're not going to shine in any way where you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to play against LSU. That it's just a tougher deal when you're closer to the line of scrimmage or on the line of scrimmage. So it's typically the guys that are going to stand out in a true freshman class, certainly through 8 practices, are almost always going to be wide receivers or DBs. I would say for the transfers,
yeah, I don't know, man. They've all been playing to par.
Kind of what we thought that maybe Daryl Jackson is better than I thought.
Yeah,
but I thought he was going to be good, but I didn't know that he'd be. Hulking. I didn't know he'd be Fabian good. Or maybe even better than Fabian. And that's kind of the impression I get. Again, 8 practices, small sample size. I didn't know he was this good where you're like, okay, should he start over Fabian? Yeah. Is he going to play more reps than Fabian? Like, because Fabian's a very good college football player and has proven that for a while. And this guy seems to be every bit as good, maybe better. Certainly maybe has more potential down the road than even Fabian Lovett. And I don't know that I knew he was that caliber of player. I knew he was good. I don't think I knew he was this.
Quinn67, wake up. Spring seems to be going well. Do you have any insight around freshman players that will be arriving this summer? Do they assign jersey numbers before they arrive? I think we probably would know the day or so beforehand. They'll probably give us some updated roster, and we'll know what their numbers will be.
So they're not on there yet? I was just about to look. Blake Nicholson's not on there?
I don't think so, no.
Huh. That's interesting. I mean, I guess there's people they got to leave still, right?
Yeah. So I think they got it around in June, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were arriving late June, but I don't know the exact dates. But I know Seminoles, their production staff, has done some cool stuff recently with like these freshmen arriving and stuff. So maybe they'll have some kind of cool video for it. But I don't know exactly the exact date they report. But I don't know who they're waiting on. Him? They're waiting on the kid from Texas that they got the last second, the linebacker.
Yeah.
And I'm like the other player too. And then Goldie Lawrence, I think, is another guy. Maybe our guy Destin Hill, but that would be before them because if he's going to be here in May, that's before June. I know how to read a calendar.
Can't wait till that day comes. Till Destin Hill walks through that door. That's going to be an awesome interview.
I want to see if he's going to fly in. Like, should we meet him at the airport? Should we like meet him at the state line when he crosses in? And we should make.
Is he going to be? It'd be cool if he like walked out of the woods like Bigfoot. Like kind of, we got a picture of him walking in the woods, that one famous Bigfoot shot, or like rising out of a lake, just his neck, like stuff like that, man. I mean, it's become mythology at this point.
I booked a house in Ireland. I'm bringing the family. This trip is such a cool event that even my sister and brother-in-law, a gator and a hurricane, are coming along. Yeah, it's going to be great. Can't wait. My question for the week, if we end up playing in a college game day game this year, what game would it most likely be? Thanks for keeping us informed. You guys do a great job. P.S. In Richmond this week for work, people are still moping about Virginia getting beat by Furman. Ira would love it here.
No lie. Yeah. Ira has a weird distaste for Tony Bennett in Virginia.
Yeah. Clemson?
Yeah, I don't know that there's another. Or there's not even another alternative.
They do LSU? Will they start the season like? I don't know if it would be game day.
That doesn't count though as a game day, right? Though, because that's a Sunday game anyway.
That's not on campus.
Yeah, I think the only one that there's a chance is Clemson. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe somehow Florida's really good, and that's a top 10 matchup or something. But I certainly don't. Or maybe Miami ends up somehow being great, and becomes one. But other than those two, and I think those are long shots. I think that's probably 50-50 at this point that'll be game day. But on campus in Tallahassee, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I would put Miami ahead of Florida just because if Florida State is rolling at that point, it might be one of those like we have to go there and like we can make it into a big deal even though Miami's not good because it is Florida State Miami and it's been a long while. I could see them kind of like maybe forcing it if they had to because like if Florida State's undefeated or they got one loss and they're ranked third in the country,
right?
And that week, you know Alabama's playing Vanderbilt or Georgia's playing Mississippi State, they might be like, all right, well we could probably sexy up the Florida State-Miami game a little bit better. But, yeah, Clemson's odds-on favorite for sure, far and away. One more. Actually, wasn't that bad.
Okay. Right.
Noel Sean, longtime listener, second-time questioner. Shout out to Corey for his cordiality. Is that a word?
I think so,
Cordiality?
Yeah.
I don't know if I said it right. In NOLA. Sorry we did not make it to the meetup at the Hustler Club after the big win like we discussed.
Right.
Next time.
All right. That's all right, buddy.
I was wondering if you might share the origin story of warchant.com and what is personally your guys' first memory of warchant.com. Noel Sean's, mine, he says, was the 2008 recruiting class when 3 players from my high school all signed with FSU in the same class and researching on Warchant to confirm if this was actually true. Go Noles.
He said 2008?
Yeah. I was about to say,
I wonder if that was
Lamarck?
like
was he from Lamarck, Texas? But no, that's
no. Would it be like Nigel Carr and Avis Comack?
Yeah,
they all,
that's probably
from
right.
The same school?
I'll look it up here.
My first interaction with Warchant was the recruiting year of Lorenzo Booker and Leon Washington and there were a ton of guys. Chris Davis, Deshaun Platt, the great Deshaun Platt, Buster Davis. It was that crew. Broderick Bunkley, maybe.
Leon Washington was 2002?
Yeah, Leon was there too. And Thomas Hollywood Clayton. They got 3 running backs that year. Yeah. And I remember because I was like, you know what it was really oddly is that I played the NCAA video game, RIP. I guess it's back now. And I got so invested in the recruiting. Like I would simulate entire seasons just to go recruit because that was the new feature they had. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm getting all these 5-star kids. I'm cheating, but I'm getting all these 5-star kids. We're going to play for, and I would simulate the whole season and I got really, that's the first time I got really, really interested in recruiting. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go see how the team I actually cheer for is doing in recruiting. And Warchant came up and I would click on it and they would show, and I remember specifically they would show these stories and they would say, Noles get a big commitment, and then you would click on it and you'd have to pay. And I'm like, man, I'm tired of not knowing who, and this was before Twitter. I was like, I'm tired of not knowing who these guys are. So I paid whatever it was a month. I don't know, back then it was probably $50 a month. And hey, tell them the deal, Aslan. Tell them the deal you can get Warchant for right now.
$29.99 all the way up until September, everybody.
We used to pay that a month back in my day, gang. So just take advantage of that. But yeah, so that was the class that was the Lorenzo Booker when he made he was the first person to ever do what they all do now, which is commit on television. Mm-hmm. He did it on ESPN right during a Sports Center and shocked a lot of people by choosing Florida State instead of Notre Dame. And that was the class that got me hooked on Warchant, was that recruiting class. And I think that's a lot of people's in with Warchant, right? Their inroads, their first dip into the water is a lot of times through recruiting, or at least it used to be. And then you start saying, oh, well, there's a lot of Florida State fans on these message boards I can talk to. And there's they do in-depth coverage on just the team in general, not just recruiting. But that was my first foray into Warchant was that 2001 recruiting class. Or 2002, I guess. Yeah.
First off, you were correct. 2008 was that trio out of First Coast, I think, was the high school.
First Coast in Jacksonville. There you go. Yeah. Nice.
Way to be, Corey. Yeah, recruiting is what made me pull the trigger. The 2003 class with Ernie Sims and Antonio Cromartie, I was like, we can absolutely not lose Ernie Sims to Florida. Or, Georgia was maybe a player because John Lilly and Antonio Cromartie was maybe going to go to Florida. I'm like, absolutely not. So that's what made me pull the trigger. But I think I've said this before on the show. I was working at FedEx, and it was 2002 season, and it was all the Adrian McPherson stuff was going on. And one of our guys that worked in the office was just telling me all the stuff that's going on. He's like, yeah, he's allegedly is involved in maybe sports betting, yada yada. You can do it free now, everybody. It's great. MyBookie.ag. It's totally fine. AD could have used that app and been fine. Right. But it was that stuff going on. I'm like, where are you finding out all this? And he's like, Warchant.com. And I went inside the office and he pulled it up and showed me. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I think I did a 10-day free trial and got my beak into trying to figure out what's going on with that, because that happened towards the end of the season, in November. And that's when I saw stories about Ernie Sims III and Antonio Cromartie. I'm like, what? So I made $7 an hour, but I put away $10 every month so I could be on Warchant.com.
There you go, man. Best decision you ever made. Look at you now.
Look at us. Look at us now. Who'd have thunk? All right, we made it to the end, Corey. We did an entire hour-plus show.
That was a long one. That was a lot longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, well, questions,
That's
link,
my fault. I ramble on. Talking about Brady.
I can't wait to take this 8-hour interview.
I'm about to yell at him again because he's back on the video game.
All right, Pro Day later today. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock. Saturday, the scrimmage. We will have reaction around probably 1 o'clock. We're not going to be able to be there, but we'll be on the Zoom with all the coaches afterwards. So check us out for that. And recruiting news over at warchant.com. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Hit the thumbs up. You made it this far. Give us a 5-star rating review, too. That'd be cool. You've listened to Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Have a great weekend, everybody.